welcome to the Biddy Tarot podcast. I am joined by my very special guest today, Jennifer Schlueter, who quit her job as a managing editor of 22 newspapers in Southern California after her first hypnosis session in 2015. And now she's all about empowering people to live a life of, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful right now moments, because life is too short not to love who you are and what you do. So Jennifer is certified in hypnosis, EFT, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, a breathwork facilitator, and she's also a really gifted channeler and medium in the spiritual realm. And today, Jennifer's going to be talking a lot about past life regression and, how we can connect to these past lives that have happened for us and maybe even how they influence us now. So with all that in mind, welcome, Jennifer. It's so good to have you here. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I'm doing great. And how are you?
Yeah, I am very well. Yes, very good. And very much looking forward to chatting about past life regression. But first, I want to hear a little bit about, what has really brought you into doing this work. I mean, I touched a little bit about it with your intro, but tell me, how did you get into becoming like a hypnosis practitioner, NLP, and then, a spiritual guide at the same time?
Yeah, for me, it was really when in 2015, I had a friend who gave me the secret book, and then it takes you down like a little rabbit hole. And then I was kind of in a very dark place in 2015. I was making really bad decisions with alcohol, with guys. And my friend was like, hey, why don't you try my hypnotherapist? And I was like, oh, I don't know what that entails, but I will try and I will see, because I was always open to trying new things. And so I went to the hypnotherapist, and I don't remember everything that was said in that first session. All I remember is I had to pack everything negative, everything that was no longer serving me, into a hot air balloon, had it drift off. And then I went home and went to sleep. And then the next morning, I woke up at 5 a.m. And at 5 a.m., I had literally made the decision in my head that I would quit my job and travel the world. So it was so impactful for me, that first session, that I was like, wow, like I need more of this. I want to do more of this, and I want to see what this is all about. And so I got into more sessions with different hypnotherapists as well. And it really helped me fix the relationship with my mom, which was very estranged. It was like not good at all. And it helped me start my business, and it helped me like travel and work online. And it also helped me really manifest the partner that I have now. So I'm really, really grateful for hypnosis. And then I decided to study it myself, because I wanted to bring that great tool to people and really change lives. So that's why I did it.
Yeah, awesome. I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm also trained in hypnosis and neuro-linguistic programming. I actually used hypnosis to birth my two daughters without any medication. And yeah, once I did that, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And so I learned how to use hypnosis as well. And I just think it's so powerful in the way that it can really, like change and shape the way that you see the world. So it's no surprise to me that, for you, you're also having that experience as well. And how are you using hypnosis and NLP now? Like, use it in your client work, like specifically, or do you use it kind of integrated into different modalities?
Yeah, so I use hypnosis in my client work. I also use NLP breathwork, but mainly hypnosis. And I also teach hypnosis. Like I call it spiritual hypnosis, because I include like channeling, I include past lives, I include soul work, shadow work, all of that stuff. And yeah, that's what I do with my clients. And also I kind of sometimes I fuse obviously the different modalities, like breathwork with hypnosis, which is really, really powerful, which I really love doing, or with EFT as well. So just really play with it, and made my own course for spiritual hypnosis.
Awesome. Yeah. So a lot of people might think of hypnosis as like the stage hypnosis, like everyone's walking around like chickens and being idiots. But tell me about like what is hypnosis really? And then how is it kind of opening up into a more spiritual space for you?
Yes, of course. So the stage hypnosis is true hypnosis. It's real hypnosis. And it works until a point where the participant wants it to work. So if the hypnotist tells the participant something that they are not comfortable doing, they will stop doing that and they will get out of hypnosis. And so when you look at hypnotherapy, which is kind of where the difference is, right? Stage hypnosis and hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy is different because, or it's the same because you get into that same state, into the trance state, but it's different because you can really work on releasing phobias. You can work on, quitting smoking or not having the fear of flying anymore, which is the usual things that hypnosis is used for, or like stop nail biting. This is the usual things, losing weight. And then you can get into the whole spiritual realm where you can do past life regressions. You can channel either the ascended masters or you can channel souls like deceased loved ones. You can channel any entity or being that you want, really. And you can use it for shadow work. You can use it for soul work. Like I take people to their soul, which is like a very profound thing for them. And the first time they get to meet like the soul, the inner depths of their knowing. It's a very special experience for everyone, and it was for me too.
Yes. And, I think what I personally love about like hypnosis techniques is it drops us out of our conscious mind and into our subconscious, which is where we get to really connect in with our intuition. Can you talk a little bit more about how that works and why it is so connected into the realms of like spirituality? Like what does it actually enable us to do that we can't necessarily do in our daily life?
Yeah, so when you think of it, like right now when we're talking, right, we're in the beta brainwave state. And so as soon as you close your eyes, your brainwaves are slowing down because you have switched off like 80% of the things that are coming at you. And in hypnosis, obviously, we close our eyes and then we relax our mind and our body. And as soon as our mind is relaxed, it'll stop thinking, criticizing, analyzing, judging. It'll literally just pay attention to the hypnotist and their voice. And then it'll go inward. And as soon as we stop that, as soon as we turn off all the noise from the outside and as soon as our body is relaxed, then we can really we can really be present, first of all. Being present, we're not present in our day-to-day. Like we always think of maybe our grocery list or something else, right? Or we think about judging the other person that we're speaking with, even though we're doing that subconsciously, but we're thinking of that. And as soon as we turn all of that off and as soon as we can go really deep inside, we can see everything that we want, that we truly want, whether that is like for some people they want money, but what they actually want is like more free time or something else. Or let's say you say you want a dream home, but you actually really want to go travel. You can really see what it is that you really want, which is going to help you manifest that thing. Or you can get to the root cause of certain things. So for example, let's say you always date the same person. You have that pattern. You want to get rid of that pattern of dating the same person. And you can get to the root cause of why that is. And that root cause usually lies in childhood, whether it's you have a problem with money or with relationships or something else. That root cause lies in childhood. So for example, I'm going to give you an easy example. I had a client procrastinate. And she was wondering why she would always procrastinate because it was a pattern of hers. And then we went to the root cause, which was that when she was a child, whenever she would not go to school, but she would procrastinate and not go to school, she would play games with her father. And for her, that meant a connection, that meant love. And so for her brain, she had associated procrastination with love and connection, which is a beautiful connection, right? But that would make her procrastinate. Or let's see, somebody who had a pattern of dating toxic men. She had actually, in her past lives, been disappointed by men constantly. They never apologized to her. There was always something going on in her past lives. And so she would choose those men that would be her comfort zone in her past life. So the root cause of everything that is going on with you, right, lies either in childhood or in a past life.
Yes. And I imagine that once you've been able to access that, first memory or experience, that is what actually unlocks the change. Because I know, like even let's say like with weight loss, I know that's a typical one for hypnosis, but with weight loss, everyone knows what it is that they need to do, like exercise, eat more healthy or less or whatever. But even knowing that, you don't necessarily lose weight. But it's once we get down into these spaces of like, well, what are the underlying beliefs, that you can then start to get more of that shift. So yeah, that's a neat story about procrastination and going back to that very first earliest memory of the positive side of procrastination. And I'm wondering, like, is it always necessary to work with a practitioner to do this, or can people kind of drop themselves into hypnosis and work out these memories that might be influencing them?
So no, you do not absolutely not have to work with a practitioner all the time. It's helpful if you want to uncover something that's deep, if you want to uncover like a childhood memory, just because then the practitioner can actually help you work around that. They can help you extract the lessons out of that. And so if you are a person who wants that guidance and who's looking for that guidance, then please go work with a practitioner. However, if you're like, I just want to, like I have a hypnosis on YouTube, for example, to stop craving sugar and to drink more water. So that's something simple, right? You don't need to go into your childhood for that. And so you can do these hypnosises on YouTube. And on YouTube actually has like past life regressions. They have life between life regressions where you can find your purpose, and more like the stuff that you don't need a practitioner for. But I would say, like, if you have a pattern that you really want to get rid of, then work with a practitioner. But if you just want to explore, if you're just curious about it now because you're hearing that podcast, you can absolutely go and explore different things on YouTube.
Yeah, fantastic. Yes. And just tell me what's your YouTube channel so that folks who are listening can go, yep, I want to go there.
So it's my first name, my last name, and 89, but we can also probably link that somewhere.
We will. Yep. Fantastic. And so I want to jump into like past life regression, because I think that this is, kind of an interesting topic to talk about. And first, tell me like, what is past life regression, from your perspective?
So from my perspective, it's a hypnosis session that will take you into a past life, and that can uncover also like root causes for things or pattern problems that you have going on right now, or with which you can simply explore yourself, learn about yourself. Because if you take past life regression a little bit further, you can explore your soul's purpose. You can explore different kinds of past lives, so you can know who you are, who your soul is, and why your soul has come to this earth, why it has chosen to come back here, what the mission is, and more.
Yeah. And I'm curious, like with past lives, do you need to believe in the concept of past lives, or can it even just be I don't know, almost just like a lens? Like it doesn't even have to be a real thing. Like you don't have to believe that you have lived in many ways, but you could still have, maybe it's an association or a remembering to that. Could you speak a little to that?
I love that question, because I do have some people that are coming to me that are actually saying, I'm open to past lives, but I don't necessarily fully believe in it. And then you have other people who are like, oh, totally, I'm down. Like I fully believe in it. And then there are people after past life regression that say, was that real? how do I know it was real, right? And so I always say, well, there's so many things that we as humans don't know. I cannot prove that past life regressions are real or past lives are real, right? I cannot prove it. I can only know it because I've experienced it for so many times, and I've experienced it literally with every client that I work with. So this is my proof. This is the only proof that I have, but there's no like factual proof or whatever. So this is what I always say to people. But even though the people that come to me who do not believe in past lives fully, even they will go back to a past life. So it's quite powerful.
Yeah, because I always wonder, like, is it an actual thing, or is it more like a subconscious memory or like repository of, feeling or experience and so on. And I think also what's interesting, like on the other end of the spectrum, is that sometimes you can come across people who almost wear their past lives as a badge of honor. It's like, well, I was a warrior in my past life. How do you know that? Because I saw it. And I've got to be clear, like I'm either way, as in I have had many experiences of past lives, and I am always in a state of curiosity of like, I wonder, was I actually living that life, or is it some kind of like stored memory of it? But I always find it funny when folks are very identified to a particular past life. Is that something that you notice quite a bit? And is it healthy to be identified to the past lives?
So I get that as well, and I've seen people do that too. So I would say it is very helpful to know your past lives and what happened, and because every single life carries a lesson, right? And this is the reason why we're doing it, because we want to get these lessons. We want to evolve as people and as souls. But for me personally, my opinion in this would be when you're too identified with your past lives and when you focus on them all the time, you lose touch with the presence. And when you lose touch with the presence as a human, you become either anxious or depressed, and you're not living in the present anymore. Or you put so many things on the past life. Oh, I am like this because my past life was like this. Yes, but you have the choice to change it now. So there's no excuse for, you being something in a past life and then now you're doing the same thing just because you were like this in a past life.
Yes. Yeah. I wonder sometimes how much it can be used as a bit of an excuse. Well, I had this thing happen, a long time ago. But yeah, so tell me a little bit more about how we can really use past life regression to really bring us back into a place of presence and to be able to live a life of more, alignment, clarity, purpose, and meaning.
Yeah. So, for example, when we do a past life regression and we go into the space between past lives, so between every life, if you believe in reincarnation, you are the soul that chooses the next life, right? And when we go into that space between lives, which somebody has coined as the space of life between lives, the soul space, then you can actually ask your soul, like, what is my purpose on this earth? What is my mission? Who am I meant to work with? Why did I choose my parents? Why did my parents choose me? Do I have any soul contracts with people in my life right now? Like, for example, was my best friend my partner in my last life? Or was my child, that happened so that was my child, my partner in my last life? This can all happen. And so you can really also examine the relationships that you have in this life. You can examine your purpose, your mission, what you're doing. You can examine certain characteristics that you're having, certain patterns that you're experiencing. And when you get into the patterns you're experiencing, you can actually get into, for example, if you have any fears or phobias. Like one of my clients had a phobia of birds. And when she went into a past life, she found out what that was because she actually saw that her when after she died, her body was eaten by birds. So then she had a fear or a phobia of birds in this life, and then now she doesn't have it anymore. So it's simple things like these, right? Or for the person that I mentioned earlier that had really bad experiences with guys in this life, who found out that it was actually a past life experience. Then you get a lot of people who are struggling with money in this life and who go back to their most wealthy lives, and they find actually like some of their most wealthy lives, they were either really lonely or they were really unhappy. So a past life is really making sure, yes, you know you have the codes to be wealthy, but at the same time, make sure you're not going to end up lonely, or make sure you're not going to end up like totally crazy or whatever, like selling your soul to something. And so these past lives always serve as lessons for the presents. And I feel like the better you know yourself and your past lives as well, and you in, like as a child, the more you bring up these memories from past lives or from your childhood, the better you can understand yourself as a person. And the more focused you can be, the more aligned with your mission and your vision you can be, just because you know yourself very well. And if you know what you want, if you know why you want it, because you know yourself, then you can bring it into your life more easily.
Beautiful. I love it. And I'm curious then, do you think that these kind of successive lives that we have is all to a place of enlightenment, so that each lifetime we're kind of learning a lesson, maybe healing something, elevating, and then moving into the next life and so on? Is there an end point to all of this journey?
So as I've studied it and as I know it from my past life regressions, so the succession is that you would always go into different lives. Sometimes they're on this planet, sometimes they're on other planets. And then you have souls that turn into spirit guides, that turn into angels, that turn into ascended masters. And after that point, I'm also not quite sure. Because like, obviously souls have to go somewhere, right? And apparently they're infinite. And I always say apparently, because you can prove it by doing many, many past life regressions, but it's a world that is physically not provable, so to say. Like, your past lives, angels, spirit guides. Yes, physically you cannot prove that. And as humans, we like physical proof. And as humans, it is hard for us to believe in something that we don't see, that we cannot grasp, that we don't have proof of. But the mere fact that it is in our minds is like, is that the truth? Like you said with your past lives, are they real? Are they the truth? And so again, we have to call ourselves back into the present moment, whether, like we go develop as a soul and become an ascended master or an angel or a guide. We're not that right now. We're human and we're living that life.
Yeah, that makes sense, definitely. And I know that you've been using like tarot and oracle cards as well with like past life regression. Can you tell me a bit more about how that works and how you're integrating the two?
Yeah, I actually had an experience with one of my friends. Like, we've always had this relationship where we kind of had this connection between us, and we were very curious about that. So we actually we laid oracle cards, and later had that confirmed from a psychic medium, that we were actually in a relationship in the past. There was jealousy involved. He left me with like the kids and everything. And so we were wondering what that connection was about. And then we found out that it was a past life. And then we had that confirmed by a psychic medium. And so we used oracle cards to determine the past life. And we actually got images on the oracle cards, which were like, holy crap, that was so accurate to what the medium said as well. And so what you can do here is you can, if you give a person a reading, a tarot reading or oracle card reading, if you give them a reading, and if the person doesn't resonate with something that was supposedly in their past, right? You can always ask them, hey, does it feel true in your body that it was actually a past life? Or you can do a total past life reading with oracle or with tarot cards. And then you can always ask, like, the most important thing to ask from a past life is, what was the lesson in that past life? Why are we seeing this today? Why are you showing this to us today? And then you can explore with tarot cards or with oracle cards the reason why, the lesson why. Or when somebody comes to you with a pattern, and then you say, like, the tarot cards are showing you something, and you're like, was this in your childhood? And the client is like, nope. Then you can be like, oh, then it's probably a past life. So this is how you can use tarot and oracle cards to read past lives.
Yeah, I love it. And it sounds like it's a really nice way just to add another layer to understanding more about your own past lives, but also what role they play and so on. And it's almost, this is why I always love tarot, is because it's like more of a physical manifestation of, or a representation of what is going on a more spiritual level. So yeah, that's really beautiful to hear how you're using it. Can you share a couple more stories about like past life regression and, you know, what it's been able to open up for different people, obviously while protecting your clients' privacy and so on, but I'm so curious to hear some more examples.
Yeah, so I first I can share two of mine because it doesn't interfere with any privacy. So my first past life regression, actually, I did a life between lives regression on YouTube. I did it on YouTube because I was curious. And it took me back into a life where I was in Namibia as a beggar child, and I was killed in a car accident. And but before that, I was begging some older lady for like some money. And what is that all about? And then I had a session with an EFT practitioner who told me like, oh, this was your past life. This has to do with money. And then she did something great. She was like, okay, if that child had to live on, if she could live on, what would she have been? Right? So the possibility of not being that beggar child, of ending that life as a beggar child, but as actually a child that goes on to be a teacher and to help her community was actually really beautiful and really powerful. And it helped me to see past lives in a more powerful way even. And in that same regression, I found that my purpose is to learn and teach how to love. And my whole life made sense all of a sudden, because when I was a child, love was not something that I really experienced, with my parents being separated and with me then moving in with my mom and her boyfriend, where it was also not a loving relationship. So I literally had to learn love from my parents. I had to learn love with partners because I used to be in very toxic relationships. And now I'm in a healthy relationship. So it really, and also with everyone that I encounter, like I just really feel like I want to bring love and I want to bring light. And so this mission, this purpose in my life of learning and teaching how to love, I found that really beautiful and powerful. And I really identify with that. And it really made my whole life make sense. And then a different time, I was curious about a person that I met who I considered to be my twin flame. I went back into a past life with him and I asked, what were we doing? And it so happened that I met him in South Africa. And then I went back into a past life where we were in South Africa, both as Zulus, because I had a Zulu name. I didn't even know we were Zulu back then, but I had a Zulu name apparently. And I looked up the name on Google, and it confirmed that it was a Zulu name. And we were just outside. We were just having fun, playing in nature. And then you always see the scene of death in a past life, because it'll bring you a lot of lessons and it'll bring you like the whole perspective on what the life was before. And that one, it brought me, and then in that scene, it brought to me that he was dying before me. And I asked him, like, what am I supposed to do without you? And he said, show the world that a love like ours exists. And again, it fit in with my purpose, right? Learning and teaching how to love. So it was really, really beautiful. And another time, this is a pattern I also often see. A person right now who is a client of mine, she saw a past life of where she ended up as a lonely person, as a lonely old man. And these past lives always come up when the person right now is trying to really stay by themselves or when they're trying to make a lot of money. And these lives come up that they're lonely so that they can see what human connection actually brings. It brings opportunity. It brings love. It brings just goodness. And so this is a pattern that I also often see.
Yeah, so interesting. And I really love how like the past lives for you have just shown your purpose and your mission. For me, it happened, it was in 2012. It's a little while ago now, and I had a very clear vision of my past life. And a short story is being burnt at the stake and being prosecuted for really speaking my truth and for practicing with intuition and, connecting with nature and so on. And I just came out of that experience like, I was like, I am never going to let anyone ever be persecuted or put down for expressing who they are and, like feeling their intuition. And I came out of that just so strong and empowered, like, I know why I'm here now, and that has really shaped my path over this last decade in the work that I do and continues to. And it was just, one very powerful vision that I had. So I can really speak personally too to the impact that it can have in connecting with past lives. And again, I don't get fixated on whether that actually happened or not. But what's more important to me is, what was that experience? What's the energy I feel with that in this present moment? I had another vision in that same experience where like I was part of a harem and we're all like women were like in this small room and we're all kind of dressed in black, almost chained to each other and like completely, controlled and dominated in this space. But still there was like all the women had like a little song and this little pulse that we had through like the chain. And I just had that feeling of like, yeah, you know what, no matter what, we'll always find our power like as women, and we'll always find a way to kind of rise above it all. So that just fuels me so much. So yeah, I think past life work is, number one, it's a gift to be able to offer that to people. And then, to experience it as well can be very life-changing. So if folks are kind of interested in like, oh, this past life thing sounds pretty interesting, like what should they do to get started? Should they find a past life regression therapist, practitioner? Are there ways of doing it on their own? Is it as effective? What do you recommend?
So what I recommend is that, because on YouTube you can try it and you can see it, you can see all of the scenes of your past life, right? And it's a great start. I started like this as well, and I think many other people probably too, because they were just curious, and I love it. I love it. So you can do that, and especially like if you would call yourself mentally stable. But if you want more guidance, if you want to work on a specific topic that you want to release, then I would absolutely totally recommend practitioners. For example, your topic, right? I actually love that you mentioned this with the being burned at the stake. There's so many people who have that, so many people who show up online, so many of them have had a past life like this. And so if you have a specific topic that you want to work on, I would really suggest a practitioner. Sometimes it can take more sessions, but most of the time it really just takes like for the whole topic, it takes sometimes more sessions, but one past life regression can have such a big impact in your life, whether you do it on YouTube, whether you do it with a practitioner, or whether you do it with tarot, right? You can explore your past lives with tarot, with oracle cards. You can do that as well. There's so many different ways, or you can go into meditation and just call in the visions of a past life. There's so many different ways to do it.
Yes. Yeah, in fact, I've found like where I've connected with it, it's been more organic. So I haven't gone in going, okay, show me a past life. It's just been, the one that I just shared with the being burnt on the stake happened at like, an amazing workshop with Alana Fairchild, who creates all the beautiful oracle decks. And she was leading like this moving like meditation, so a dance, and we're just kind of in our own space, and I could just feel it all coming through. So I think oftentimes this can come through just organically, without even going, all right, show me the past life. But I can see how profound it could be to like grab, one of those experiences and then go deep with it. And just like you shared, what was that moment of death? What is the lesson? If you didn't die at that point, who would you have become? That sounds, really very fascinating and very empowering. So where can people find out more about the work that you're doing with past life regression and hypnosis and so on?
So I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Facebook, I'm pretty much everywhere. I'm on TikTok as well. And I do actually have a lot of free hypnosis on TikTok. I have a lot of free hypnosis on YouTube, so you can check those out and just try it for yourself as well.
Great. And we'll post those links underneath somewhere where this podcast is. You'll be able to find the links as well. And have you got any exciting projects that you're working on over the next sort of 6 to 12 months that you'd like to share?
So currently I'm actually studying for my PhD in spiritual healing. And I do have my own study, like we get to do our own studies. And so I have my own studies on, I want to see how hypnosis impacts cancer. So does it shrink, can it help shrink cancer tumors? Can it help make people feel better and get healthier sooner? That's one project. And another project is actually also, I'm working on an oracle card deck as well. And what else? I think, and just more in-person experiences. I really want to have more in-person experiences and fuse traveling. I really love Africa. So I really want to bring people to like South Africa, to Ethiopia, to Tanzania, and to infuse that with hypnosis as well, those trips.
Oh, fantastic. So I'm just doing a PhD, creating an oracle deck, leading tours in Africa. I love it. See, this is what's possible.
I need these different projects, I need that.
Yeah, fantastic. I love it. Well, thank you so much for the conversation today. It's been super enlightening. And I know our community will just be lit up by all these ideas around past life regression and how you can use tarot to expand sort of those understandings. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Jennifer. And thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Hey, if you loved this video, then make sure you check out this next video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you next time.